Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Testing Many Bytes. I'm your friend Amudan Shaktivel, and in this video, we're going to do some of the refactoring for the existing test case that we created during live sessions. Right? I also thought I want to do it live, but my timing and the others' timing might not suit really well because I'm really quite busy with my personal life. So, so I thought I will go back to the normal way of making videos. Good. And again, if you have doubts, you always can ask me directly in the Telegram group where I will be very active and responding to all your queries, or you can leave it in the YouTube comments, right? I will be happy to help. Good. So without wasting much time, let's go and understand some of the problems that we have with the code, and we will try to refactor them. Okay. So the first thing here is this is our test, and I'm using Podum Factory. I also have made an explicit video on how to use Podum Factory to generate random values for your pojos, right? It's a separate topic. I have discussed in a separate video in detail. I leave the link in the description. You can go ahead and watch it. Yeah, but apart from that, if you notice, we are opening the browser. We are trying to do log into the application. We are getting the left menu component. We are selecting PIM out there, a PIM menu out there. We are trying to add an employee, and we are also checking whether employee created successfully. So this is the whole test. Looks fine, but there are few hiccups. For example, these are all like for me, these are all like unnecessary information to be we have in our test. Let's say you need this employee details in some other test. Okay, then you have to repeat the whole step, right? So I think the abstraction here is unavoidable. So that's why what I can also do is I can basically go here, and then I can go ahead and create a class called as com.orange hrm dot instead of test, it's going to be test data, right? It's going to be test data package. Inside that I can have employee test data, right? So we can call it as employee test data, so it can be very clear. If anyone wants to use it, they can directly go on and use it, right? So this is the class that I want to add, and I also don't need this to be uh, extended by some other class, because uh, this is a test data class. I don't want people to do incorrect inheritance. That's really bad. Okay, let's format my code, and then I simply have a static method that basically gives employee details at the end, right? Get random employee data or details, or whatever you want to call it, you can call it. And then you can simply abstract all this information here. For example, this information, right? The Podum factory instance you are creating, you can put something like this: return Podum factory, sorry, new Podum factory impl, uh, factory impl dot, right, manufacture the pojo, that is employee details dot class, right? This will absolutely work fine. And then you can go here, instead of all this noise, you can simply cut hold this and then put it here, and then simply say employee test data is the class that I'm interested in, get random employee details, right? That's gonna work, right? So now if you even look into the OOP perspective, OOPS perspective, you have a test class that consists of a test, and it consists of a test data, right? It makes complete sense to have this kind of abstraction to make your code very readable. And also we removed all the noise that is involved in creating this random data, right? So that it can be also reused, that is for different reasons, right? But if you notice, you can directly right click this is one way or how you can do it. You can use Podum factory impl and then do it. Or let's say you want to make your intentions very clear, because not many people, just by going through this, they might not know that you are having an instance of this here. So you can also have a private static final uh, Podum factory object, okay, with new Podum factory impl, right? So this way, and then if it is static final, it makes more sense for me to call it as Podum factory. All right. Once you do this, basically I can simply say Podum factory dot manufacture pojo. So the reason why I want to do this, again, there is a spelling mistake it is suggesting. So it is very easy to just call it as factory and then make it more readable. The reason why I have extracted this is because, let's say, employee test data consists of, it's using this Poda factory, right? So that's, we are trying to make our intention very clear. Let's say if there are 10 methods here, people, we don't really know what this, reference type is. So just we are making sure we are using this in our class, so that somebody sees the skeleton of this class, they can understand what we are using. So that's the whole intention, right? Good. Now, also, if you notice, we have this open method which we can extract to a base class where we can reuse this for different test cases, right? That makes complete sense. Let's go here, and instead of test, I go here and then I create a new class called as base.test setup. Basically, it creates a package, and then I'm calling it as test setup because base test is something that I don't really like, right? We try to keep everything there, but here I'm using my base class for just setting up my browser, right? So opening the browser, so I can just call it a setup test or test setup class, right? Very simple. And here I simply can have a setup method that says open, and then for now I'm hard coding this URL here, or I can simply copy this, right? I can copy this and put it here, right? Very, very simple, right? Now let's go to the test again and see. Okay, we removed some noise here and looks fine. Again, let's go and see this login page. New login page is really awkward. So some people will prefer writing like this: login page equal to new login page, and then they can use it here. But for example, if your test fails even before this step, you already have created an object. So we call it as eager initialization, which I try to avoid most of the cases. You can also do that, but I would suggest don't do it. Okay, it create only objects when it is really needed, and in this case, it spoils my readability. Then what should I do then? So in those cases, you can go here, have a private constructor, and then simply create a static method, public static uh, login page that should return. You can have a get instance method, right? And then which basically returns new login page. This way, we can replace a constructor call with a static method call for a readability. It's one of the good phenomenon what people normally uses. Let's go and through the add employee test, and we can replace this with login page or get instance, right? So now it's much readable. But let's go to the login to application, and then if you notice, we have set, we are hard coding this value here, and then your test, somebody reading your test, for example, let's close all these unnecessary tabs, close all the tabs, and then just open add employee test. Notice nobody knows that you are passing this value here. Let's say you want to pass an invalid value, it might not work, right? So it always makes sense so that your test knows what the test data you are passing to your page layers. That is very, very important. Don't directly use test data in the page method itself. Don't hard code like this. Your test should pass these values to your page layers. That's very, very important. So in those cases, what I should do, you already know what you do. So whatever you want to create, you should not pass it as a string. In this case, it is login details. So I'll create a class called as login details, and I will simply create private string username, and then private string password, right? And we all know we are using Podum, so I'll also add data. So Podum string value. See, this is hard coded value in this case. Let's say I can simply say admin, and then I can also copy this, and then I say admin 123. So whenever it populates the value, it automatically fills the Pojo with this data, not some random data. If you fill random data, it might fail, right? So let's go here. Again, I cannot directly use it. So what you should do, you should create a test data class so that you can reuse it, right? login test data. So if you want to get some data to log in, you come to this class and then get it, right? As simple as that. So let's create a public static. You want login details at the end, right? So login details, get login, get a valid credential. Let's say tomorrow you want invalid credentials, you can also have a method to get you the invalid credentials. But for now, get valid uh, login details, whatever, right? Any meaningful name should do. Return. Again, I'm going to use Podum factory here. So I will steal some of this code from here. Just copy this and then come here and then put it here. Return factory dot manufacture pojo, and I want login details dot class, right? Very simple. And then I go here, I mimic this line, and then I simply say login details, and then login details, sorry, login test data, right? Dot get valid login details, right? So this is login details. I could also call this as little more meaningfully, like employee details, right? Good. So now I can simply pass this login details here. I will add this as a first parameter. I go here, replace the hard coded value with login details or get, not this one, get username, right? And then this is login details dot get password, right? Now we have refactored this, right? Let's go here. This is good, this is good. And then if you notice, we are passing this menu, right? There are multiple ways how we can optimize this. Somebody might feel, hey, we are breaking the flow here. What about writing a chained method like this, right? That is also possible. Like you can do that. Technically, it is possible, but the problem is we have to write a lot of code in order to do that, or we might end up losing the readability of the code for that. So I will tell you different ways, and then I'll tell you why this would be the best option to do it, right? Okay, the first thing is selecting a menu from the left menu bar. So that's a very good thing, right? So let's go to the website, and you want to select a menu from here. The reason you know we accept a string name is because it will dynamically find that and it will click it. The problem with it is somebody can make a spelling mistake, right? So instead of passing it as PIM, they might passing PAMO or small letters or whatever. Like there can be spelling mistake, they miss to find whatever, right? So they can give invalid menu that is not present here. That is also possible. They can simply give ABCD, which is a problem, right? So we can restrict people from giving all these things if we create an enum for that, right? So let's go here and then create a class which is of type enum, and I simply say left menu components, right? Or component type, whatever, right? So that it's more meaningful. So I have an enum that consists of all these things, okay? And then by default, enum should be represented with capital letters so everyone knows it, right? But I want to also have a constructor kind of thing, which basically maps to admin. See, by default Java uses capital letters, but in this case I want to refer with non-capital letters, right? That's very important. Admin 123. So what I can have is I can have a method, I can have a constructor that accepts a string parameter. Okay, I don't worry about this, I will explain. So let's create quickly 3 or 4 menus. Let's say pim, and then pim is very simple, and then apart from that I also create leave and leave, right? This is again guys just an idea, okay? So what you can do is I'm passing this string as name, menu name, right? I can call it as a menu name, and then I can have private string name, string menu name, right? So once you get the value from here, I think I will pass it to this, right? as simple as that. And this is private. I should have the capability to access it. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a getter method for this, right? And then I arrange them in correct order. So what I'm doing is, instead of, I cannot have capital letter, so I should only have capital letters. But if I pass this value directly to this methods, the method is basically this, right? If I directly pass capital letters, when you find it by using capital letters, this find element will fail. So I should have some mapping between the capital letters and the actual string that I need to pass, right? So that's why I created a string parameter here, which basically you can call it as a final, because first time after you set it, you won't change the value of it, right? So that's very important. So once you do that, now you can go here to the left menu component. Instead of accepting a string, you can basically accept a left menu component type, right? And then this is menu type. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. Once you do that, you can simply say menu type dot get menu name, right? So now this enum will be converted into, if you call the get menu name, it will return you the admin, it will return you pim, it will return you that leave instead of this, right? So that's very important. Now if I go here, you will never make a mistake, because people know they have to pass one of these, right? So you have a list that they can choose from, and then there is no chance they can make a mistake. And then you can obviously leverage static imports, and then your code becomes much readable, right? This is one good way to do it. Apart from that, Amudan, still you haven't solved the puzzle of how we can chain this. Chaining this is pretty easy. One thing that you can do is, you can also have a class. Okay, this is just an assumption, okay? Public void, you can also have this in this method itself, okay? But I'm just giving an example, okay? uh, I don't know what I'm going to get, so maybe I'll get return type of t, since I'm using t. Get let's keep it as void for now. Get instance of class, and then I can simply have class of t, and then the instance I will use it as class, right? Okay, all good. Now I have to, if somebody is passing me a class type, I will just get the declared constructor, right? If you have the declared constructors, uh, declared constructor dot new instance, right? That's it. Once you do that, you can use try catch, or for now I use stack, right? Since you are passing t type, you have to tell that you are returning instance of t type, right? And then you can simply say return, right? Make return. Okay, what is the error here? Let's check the error. This is correct. Okay, let's cast this back to t. That is very important. And then, so I'm using a t type, then I'm returning this, right? All good. So I think I'm just confused with the generics. Where should I put it? I think this is all right? Once you do that, now if you go here, and then you can simply say, for that, I have to still go here and return this, right? Left menu component. And then I simply say get instance of the class. The class name is basically employee information page, dot class, right? Once you have this, you don't need this anymore, right? You can basically remove this, right? So technically achieving this is possible, but if you notice, this is really hard to have it in your test, right? So what I would suggest is, okay, you can have this if you want, but I'll also tell you another way how you can do it is, go to your login to application. This is the class, right? Where once you log in, you will basically return the home page, right? Once you get the home page, you can create a wrapper method here. And then that basically going to return you employee information page. So you can simply say, navigate to employee information page. So I'm just telling you what are the different ways how we can do it and why you should use each of them, right? And then here I can simply say this dot left menu component dot left menu component dot type is pim, and then I can do a static import obviously, and then so in this case you don't have to use this. You can simply return new employee information page. Since the name itself is very clear, right? It's navigating you to employee information page, so you can directly return the instance of it, right? And then if you go here, instead of doing all these things, you can simply say abstract away all this noise and then just say navigate to employee information page. Now the test is very readable. You log into the application, navigate to the employee information page, add new employee, and then check whether the employee is created successfully. This is what you want to see, right? Let's try to run it and then see how this works. Right, the only problem with this approach is for each of the menu you might end up creating wrappers, but in my sense that should be fine, right? The reason is extends test setup, right? We have created test setup class, but we didn't use it, right? So let's obviously run it again. So the browser is getting open again, guys. This is just my way of approach, right? How I assess different ways of writing the code and then choosing the best one based on the needs, right? At the end of the day, your readability is very important, right? We should also make sure that we abide by all the OOP principle so that somebody looks the test class, they exactly know, see, it is clicking on PIM and then it is also clicking on our employee, and then it will also upload the employee, right? It's also created the object. Okay, so now this is very clean. But one last thing is here, as I mentioned, we should not hard code this up like this, right? Tomorrow, if you want to optimize this, we cannot do that, right? So this is the path where the employee profile picture image is located, right? So I can go here and then add one more, that is private string profile picture path, right? So once you do this, you can hard code this. Obviously, if you want to, string value is images slash browser stack dot jpeg. Again, guys, I will show you how it look like. If you notice, browser stack dot jpeg is the image, right? So if you want to try to upload, once you do that, you can go here and go here. Instead of hard coding this like this, employee dot get profile picture path, right? So this way your test becomes more readable, right? And then you can also change this if whenever you want to do. So now our test is very, very neat and very clean, right? So this is how you can manage your test. So your test consists of the test data. Again, obviously, it makes no sense for me to keep it without private. So I'll always introduce private here, right? And then it also saying you should make it as final. That makes also sense. So I'll keep it as final because we are not changing the values anywhere. So it makes sense to change them, right? So log into the application with the login details, navigate to the employee information page, add a new employee or create a new employee with this employee details, check whether it is created successfully. Since Selenide is the savior here, it helps to write very clean and readable assertions. Our job is much, much simpler, right? I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Please comment if you want me to create some other test cases following this approach. I will happily do that, right? I see you guys in another great day. Tada, bye bye from Amudan. Bye guys.